Thank you and welcome to the show today. The topic this morning is a profile on Dr. James Hefner, the president of Tennessee State University, and we have with us to give us that profile Dr. Hefner himself. And Dr. Hefner, let me thank you for coming by and being with us on this final time. As a matter of fact, I think we decided to call this Summing Up. The administration of Dr. James Hefner, president of Tennessee State University. And of course, we know of your retirement from Tennessee State University, and we know that you're going to go on and do many, many other things. But Dr. Hefner, what we'd like to try to do today is to give you an opportunity to look back on your whole career, to sort of give us a profile on some of the things that were important in terms of your background, your education, and eventually leading you to Tennessee State University, so that our young people, and not only our young people, but our elderly folks as well, yes, might be encouraged by your career. Let's talk about it from that perspective.
Well, I think it started with Dr. Juanita Tate, who taught me economics at North Carolina A&T State University. Dr. Tate knew that I wanted to be a journalist, knew that I wanted to go into business. So those are two ideas that I had as an undergraduate student. But she had never produced an African-American PhD in economics. And she had been teaching for 30 years. And so Dr. Tate decided that I was the person that she was going to train to be an economist and to teach at the collegiate level. So for 3 years, my sophomore, my junior, and my senior years, I had to go to her house from 4 to 5 every day. She lived right off campus. And that started this whole thing of my interest in the academy through her. And so when I graduated, she saw to it that I went to Atlanta University for my master's degree, although I had a fellowship to Duke and Columbia, because I wrote for the student newspaper, and the sit-in started at my school and spread throughout the nation. So Columbia was a logical choice for me to go, but she said, no, you're not going into journalism. You're not even going into business. I want you to go to Atlanta University and study under Samuel Westerfield. And Samuel Westerfield was a young man who received his doctorate in economics from Harvard University, a black man. And I want you to study under him, even though I had a scholarship to go to Duke for my PhD and a fellowship to go to Columbia in journalism. So I acceded to her wish, and I went to Atlanta University. I graduated, and from there I went to Prairie View A&M College, and from there other places. So what happened is I had this teacher who believed in me, who wanted to replicate herself. And from that, I was able to get into the academy. And the rest is history. Atlanta University, master's, PhD, University of Colorado, Boulder. From Boulder, I went to Atlanta, and I ended up at Morehouse College as an endowed professor. I did do some work at Princeton and at Harvard, but primarily I was an endowed professor of economics at Morehouse College. From there, I went to Tuskegee as the provost, and I was there for only 22 months before I became president of Jackson State University. And I was there for 7 years, and this is my 13th, going into my 14th year as president of Tennessee State University.
You know, Dr. Hefner, when you look at, and we've got about a minute before our commercial break, and I'll just raise this question so that you might be able to deal with it during our second segment. But when you look at your entire career, at what point do you believe that you had a feeling that you ought to be the president of an institution of higher education? At what point? I mean, what happened in terms of your own career that at that precise moment convinced you that perhaps you ought to go further and seek to be eventually a president of an institution of higher education?
I think that what happened is that three people had confidence in me. The president of Morehouse College, you had Stephen Wright, who was president of Fisk, and then Hampton, and you had Vivian Henderson, who was the president of Clark College. And these were my mentors, and these were individuals who felt very good about me. But of course, I was not interested in being a college president because I had a $500,000 endowed chair at Morehouse College.
And let us interrupt here, Dr. Hefner, after which we'll come back and give you an opportunity to complete that. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show. We're talking to Dr. James Hefner, the president of Tennessee State University, and it is a summary of his administration at Tennessee State University and some of the things that were important in terms of his own career. And Dr. Hefner, I think you were talking about the three individuals who played such a significant role in eventually convincing you that you ought to move beyond and to be a candidate perhaps for one of these positions. Talk about those individuals for us.
Well, Vivian Henderson was an economist. He was at Fisk University. He chaired the Department of Economics, and then he went to Clark College as president. He was the one that recruited me away from the University of Colorado, Boulder, when I finished up my coursework for the degree. And as a result of him, I did my dissertation dealing with black employment in Atlanta. So it was Vivian who molded me, who brought me under his wing as president when he was president of Clark College, and I was one of the faculty members. And I left Clark College and did some work at Princeton, and it was Vivian who convinced me to leave Princeton to come back south. And he indicated that you need to give back to the African American community. And so my wife, I moved my family back to Atlanta, and I worked with Vivian. And then the other person who came to my mind was Dr. Hugh Gloucester of Morehouse College. Dr. Gloucester gave me a $500,000 chair. I was the first Charles A. Murray Professor of Economics at Morehouse. I would have had this chair until I was 70 years of age. But my friends at Morehouse encouraged me to go upstairs, and even Dr. Gloucester encouraged that. So I ended up going to Tuskegee Institute as provost. So I left an endowed chair and went to Tuskegee as provost. And there's where I met Stephen Wright, who came in and was a consultant to me when I was a provost. And as a result of those three men, the second year that I was at Tuskegee as provost, they recommended me for presidency. And I was surprised by that, but they felt that I had the values, the know-how, the skills to be a college president. And as a result of what those men did for me, I ended up being a college president.
You know, Dr. Hefner, you talk about your stay at Tuskegee Institute.
Yes.
And I've had an opportunity to, on this show, interview a large number of individuals from Alabama and from Tuskegee and et cetera. But I've never had an opportunity to have somebody to tell me personally, what influence do you still find that Tuskegee Institute left by Mr. Booker T. Washington? Talk about Washington and Tuskegee and how you found what is going on there and the influence that he had there.
Well, I was always very interested in W.B. Du Bois, and you know, and of course I did go into Tuskegee with some prejudices regarding Booker T. Washington. Then I found that really, if you look at a corn, on one side you have a certain picture, on the other side you have the other. What they did for each other, they complemented each other, and one was the intellect and one was the pragmatist. And so what I learned at Tuskegee is that the pragmatists developed that institution and created men and women who contributed much to the world. Now, Du Bois, in my intellectual world, is my champion, and so Du Bois was the idealist. Of course, Booker T, the pragmatist. But you need in this world both pragmatists and idealists. And those two values have helped me in the presidency of Tennessee State University, as well as the presidency of Jackson State University.
And so Washington's influence is still there.
Washington's influence is still there, and he believed in academic excellence. And that is what, of course, Du Bois believed in as well.
And now, when you reach Tennessee State University, you believe that students matter most. Talk about that from the perspective of why students ought to
Well,
matter.
I think that that is something that I learned at both Morehouse and at Tuskegee, that students do matter most. And your job is to do an extraordinary job of educating them. Never believe that students cannot learn. Push them against intellectual walls and give them intellectual headaches. And that is what I learned when I was at the University of Colorado. That's what I did when I taught at Princeton, is that you don't assume that kids cannot learn. You provide them with expectations beyond what they think they can achieve. And you'll find that many of them will do that.
And so that has been sort of a creed in terms of your academic career.
My academic career has been around excellence. I mean, I do not in any way say that I'm sorry that I believe in excellence.
Well, as a matter of fact, let's talk about some of the accomplishments that your administration was able to perform for Tennessee State University over the many years.
Well, I'm delighted to say that for the last 10 years, TSU has been listed in U.S. News and World Report as one of the 229 best colleges in the country. No other black college has been able to achieve that consistently. And that represents the excellence that I was taught by those three presidents who felt that I was worthy of being a president. The other thing is that there are only 3 black colleges in the country with a Phi Kappa Phi Honor Society, and that is the most prestigious honor society comprising all academic disciplines. Tennessee State is one. When I was president of Jackson State, that's another. And then North Carolina A&T. Only 3 black colleges with the most prestigious honor society. And that says something about what we believe in quality and excellence. And that's something that I can say about TSU. The academic side is there. And the building part is I've built 8 new buildings since I've been at TSU. I've renovated every building on the main and downtown campuses. That is the most beautiful campus I know in the country. And we create that metamorphosis around building and excellence.
And you've also